All right, we should be good to go, guys. We should be live. What's happening? This is episode 9, strategy session number 2. It is November 11th. I didn't know what the date was, had to check. November 11th. This is going to be a really good session. On Saturdays, we do these kind of training or more educational sessions specifically geared towards getting you new guys or even the experienced guys, just kind of adding to your toolkit, trying to make you, more informed, and I want you to leave the group, and I want you to, be able to do everything that you're seeing anyone else in the group do on your own. So I don't want you to ever have to rely on my analysis or someone else's. I'm trying to prep you so that you don't need me or anyone else in the group. I love working with you, love to have you on board, but the whole value that I want to bring is I want to make you self-sufficient and more confident in your strategy. So that's what's on the agenda today. We'll also do some of the normal kind of daily stuff. We'll look at Bitcoin further correction. We'll be looking at altcoins as well, specifically Ethereum Classic and more Bcash. That's still the biggest story. And then we have a couple more group updates. So we had about 4 or 5 guys join today. Welcome if it's your first session. Looks like Kaspar's. I don't know who the actual 4 or 5 new guys were. I wasn't going to lose you in the members list, but the group's almost full, guys. We have about 3 or 4 seats left. Super active almost all hours of the day, which is so cool to see. And it's really turning out great. And I've gotten some good feedback so far. So really happy to see that. Looks like some guys are making some Bitcoin. What's more important to me is that you're learning too. And it seems like both of those are going on. So as always, feel free to shoot me a message with any questions or concerns or anything I can kind of make your experience better. And I'm happy to implement any changes as long as they're reasonable. So got that out of the way. First, I'm going to do the trading strategy kind of session, and then we'll get back to our normal daily stuff after I mute my phone real quick. So the best way to kind of go over this, I've battled on what I wanted to cover in today's training session. The first week we covered leveraged Bitcoin trading, which I know probably doesn't apply to everyone. So with this session, I wanted to choose something that would be applicable to every single trader, every single trading style, and every time frame as well. So first ran across my mind, I was going to do just range trading, but I know some guys like to do breakout trading as well, and that doesn't really work in all scenarios. So today we're going to be covering where I put my entries and exits, how I determine these actual levels. So hopefully you can kind of implement that methodology or develop your own and kind of understand why I'm picking targets in certain areas or understand why I think this is a good entry zone and such. So we'll jump right into it. The best way I know how to do this is just to go through my examples. If I'm moving too quick, you can always replay the video or ask me questions later. And I can break it down a little bit further. Choosing entries. So we'll start with a long scenario. I did a supply and resistance video or support and resistance video. The first thing whenever I open a chart, I want to see the support and resistance lines, whether they're fibs or whether they're all-time highs and all-time lows. Once I have that, and once I know what the market cycle is, whether I think alts are going to be doing well now, or whether alts are doing bad, or whether Bitcoin's in a bull market or a bear market, I know I want to go long here on metal. We're looking at a metal chart, so I know I'm looking for a long. I'm looking to buy. I'm trying to determine where do I buy that makes sense from a risk-reward standpoint, and then also what level do I buy at, or which level do I think is reasonable to start buying at. So the first thing I want to do, what support is it closest to? It's closest to these 2 supports. This yellow one, this kind of longer term support line is closest, and it's also lower. So the way that I place entries in my whole thought process is, I'll go over Ethereum Classic too. We had an example in the group today. But when I'm looking at these, the higher your entry is if you're buying, obviously the higher chance it has to get filled. But it's probably taking a little bit more risk. At the end of the day, we're trying to buy low and sell high. If you're willing to buy a little bit higher, suppose we're going to market buy right here, and this is 68,000 sats right here. Let me draw a line to mark my work. So if we're willing to just submit a market buy order, meaning that we're going to buy at the current rate, we don't care the price. This is when you're on Bittrex and you just select last or something. If we're willing to buy right here, that means we don't really know where it's going to get executed. It's probably going to get executed right here at the market rate, and it could fall a little bit lower. A more ideal entry, I use that word a lot when I'm looking at entries, is I want to enter as close to this support line, or what I usually do is I draw these boxes, because sometimes wicks get a little bit ridiculous, especially in crypto. I'll draw a box, and this is kind of a support zone. So this is right around the support area, the support line, and what I'm looking for is the lower we are in this support zone, or closer we are to this support line, it's the more ideal entry, because it's the more likely that price just touches here and then starts going up. So if I'm entering a long, I always want to place it a little bit above support, because I do want to get it executed. It wouldn't make sense, alternatively, let's assume I place an entry down here right below support. There's a really small chance that a wick hits it and it fills. But what's likely to happen is price is going to come down, it's going to touch this support line or this support zone you chose, and it's never going to hit your entry. So you always want to give yourself a little bit of room. There's no percent or any number exactly. It's more just an arbitrary. You'll kind of get a feel for how close things get depending on your technical skill level. And you want to choose an area right above that support if you're buying. So in this scenario, right above support, I would probably choose something in this 65.5 thousand sat range. Yeah, 65.5 thousand sat range. So that's where I'd be looking to place an entry. And then the idea is it just touches your entry and then starts moving up. So you never have to deal with a trade management scenario where your trade gets entered and then you start seeing red immediately. I know that's a little offsetting to a lot of people, and probably what gets them in trouble on BitMEX as well, or when they're trading on FX. That was something that I struggled with when I began trading, is right when you click buy or sell, a lot of times you see yourself start losing money. So right off the bat, you're losing money, you might panic, and then you just exit the trade at a loss. So the goal is to be as surgical or as exact with your entry. Getting these Telegram messages, I thought they were muted for now. You want to be as exact or surgical with your entry that you enter it and then it just keeps going. You never have to see that loss. So that's what I'm looking for in long entries. I want it to be, one second guys, I have to mute this. Sorry about that. So you want it to be as exact as it can be, just for that reason. Or in the case of Bcash, like, a couple people were looking to get in, and what I said was, just know that if you enter right now, you can expect shorter term losses, or the risk reward isn't going to be as optimal. So you want to enter, if price was up here, I would be looking to enter right there. Now looking to exit trades, it's going to be the exact same thing except flip. So if this is my first target, and I'm always choosing my targets at points where I think there's going to be resistance, I use fibs a lot, so I look at this as a resistance zone. It's also where price used previous support, so I think there's going to be resistance. And this is my first target. Let's call it 0.001 or 100,000 sats. I'm going to place my exit or my limit to sell. This is when you put it in Bittrex, you would choose the sell price right here and then denote the price in metal. I'm going to place it a little bit below this resistance. Now when I'm getting out of a trade, I'll actually usually move this down even a little bit farther than I'm comfortable doing the entry. I'm just a more defensive, more conservative trader. I would never want a scenario where it gets up to this kind of level, because it's happened 100 times to me before. You have a killer trade going, it gets up to here, something comes out, and then it moves all the way back down, and you just try to squeeze out an extra 2%, and you lost the whole trade. So I would hate that scenario. I usually take profits a little bit before. If you want to be really similar to this, the closer you move your exit or your take profit to the resistance, the smaller chance it has of getting hit, but it also can maximize profit. So that's kind of the risk or the benefit of moving really close to support or really close to resistance. If If you want to be a sniper, if you want to be really surgical, it is a really good feeling when your target gets hit and then it drops. But it's also a pretty terrible feeling when it comes really close and then drops. So, that's why I try to scale out of positions as well. Shorts are going to be the exact same thing, just the opposite. So for this one, I'm going to go to Bitcoin. I've been trading Bitcoin all day on BitMEX. Maybe spend a little bit too much time on BitMEX, but it's all right. I enjoy it. So I've been shorting all the way down this Bitcoin move. I had a post in the portfolio strategy today about why I trade with the trend. Might want to check it out if you are interested. So I've been looking to enter shorts here. Trading with the trend, it's a downtrend. My timing is good sometimes. I'm fully aware that my timing is not always perfect, nor will any trader's timing ever be perfect. So I want to try to minimize the effect or the importance of my timing. So I want to be looking at shorts. If the overall market is going down, I want to be trading down too. That way, even if I enter right here, a terrible entry, after about an hour or two, price should keep dropping. That's kind of my mindset. So if I'm looking to enter a short, I think we started the day and we were down around this region. Yep, that was 7 a.m. for me. Down around this region, I wanted to enter a short and missed my chance here. Price was dropping. I definitely didn't want to short down here. So I wanted to place a sell entry right up in here at this. If price is going to bounce, I'm looking to enter or to sell right below resistance. So in metal, I wanted to sell right below resistance to get out of my long. Here, I want to enter right below resistance to enter my short, so that I can ride it down and hopefully exit the trade right above this support. So it's the exact same thing, just flipped. The closer I have it to this resistance point, the smaller likelihood that it gets filled. But I mean, that would have been really surgical. Suppose if I was feeling really good about the calls today, if I would have placed this at 6,490, price only went up, that resistance is right there at 6,497. So in the past, it touched the line. If I didn't want to take too much risk at all, and I put my sell right there, you would see it didn't get filled right there. So it got super close. So that's one of those scenarios, if you're looking to take profit or if you're looking to enter a short and you're trying to get a little too cute with it, the trade might not get executed. So I always give myself a little bit of room. My lines aren't going to be exact. Every trader is kind of looking at something different. This short did enter. I think I'm short for about 6,500. So maybe I am a little bit closer to that line. And then my target for this trade is going to be right down here. So it's going to be a little bit above this support zone, probably right where this last wick was. So that gives me a little bit of room. I'm not maximizing profits if it was all the way down here at 61.47, but it's guaranteeing that not guaranteeing, but it's giving me a better chance of getting out of this trade, taking those profits, which I'm cool with taking any profits in Bitcoin. So that's what I'm looking for in that trade. This works in any kind of time frame, any kind of setup. If you're breakout trading, if you're range trading, if you are scalping, no matter what indicators you use as well, entering your trades, whether they're buys, I personally always want to put them right above supports. And if you're looking to sell, you always want to have it a little bit below resistance. So that's just some really basic, really simple stuff. I think it's helpful to everyone though, especially the new people who are getting into trading. This is some really basic stuff that you can implement tomorrow. So some people, I get questions sometimes and I don't really think about it just because I've spent a lot of time trading, a lot of time looking at charts, but this might be something not so obvious. You might be putting your targets right here, stuff like that. So I hope this was really helpful, guys. I'll continue to try to explain my charts as good as I can. Sometimes I have a lot of stuff going on or a few charts, so I'm not able to always put a text box on why I entered right here. I hope this provides a little bit of insight into how I choose my targets and how, where I'm buying. So I hope you enjoyed that. That is the trading session. Now we can get back to just kind of the regular program. Actually, I'm going to leave this chart open. My other one has a little bit too many lines. A few too many lines, I should say. So Bitcoin, broke through another, gosh, I'm really frustrated. I had a short open too, and I closed it last night. I forget who I was trading with. Someone else was trading that with me. I closed it. I don't like to keep BitMEX exposure open overnight, but it looks like it did keep falling as Bitcoin Cash kept rising. So Bitcoin fell through another fib level. If this is your first video, or if you're new to the group, I use this massive, ignoring all these fibs real quick. I'm gonna fade these out again. Actually, I'll just delete them. I use this massive channel all the time. It helps me determine where we are in the Bitcoin cycle, determines my overall portfolio strategy, determines when to get in and out of alts. It really helps every single decision I make. We're moving further away from that resistance we had up here, this channel resistance, which price has done a few times in the past. What's really interesting to me in that we're getting this really sharp move with almost no bounces yet is I was trying to get a little bit of insight into what could be happening or what might happen in the future, just based on what's happened in the past. So looking back, this was in May, first time it hit the channel resistance up here, really steep drop, similar to the one that we're seeing right now, not a lot of bounces, came almost straight down until we hit this level. What kind of loss? I imagine that's a 15–20%. Almost a 30% drop there, and then it rose back again to the top of this channel. So a few days ago, or maybe it was last week, we were kind of wondering what this FUD was going to be that was going to cause the next correction. I personally thought it was going to be just taking profit and selling a healthy correction after 2x. 2x didn't happen, and now we're introduced with this massive new, really kind of strange game theory going on with Bitcoin Cash, in that people are starting to question what is the real Bitcoin, and no matter what court you're in or what side of the Bitcoin kind of debate you're in, what's interesting to me is looking at Twitter, and not just at traders and these random cartoon avatars, but looking at Bitcoin devs and people that are really important in the space, and the CEOs of these major Bitcoin companies, and looking at the conversations they're having. A lot of those guys even are even if they write it off, I mean, they're paying attention to what is this debate? What is the real Bitcoin? What defines the real Bitcoin? Is it market cap? Is it hash power? Is it this? Is it that? So that is the FUD that's driving this correction. I'm going to be really interested to see. What I was kind of getting at here was, is this going to be a sharp correction like we're getting right now with almost no bounces, and then we get a rise back to the top of the channel? I'm not sure yet. That happened here too. We have this really steep correction and then a rise back up before kind of a more controlled correction. This is, this is definitely a FUD-induced kind of correction. I'm not even sure this drop is sustainable. I'm definitely bearish. I mean, I'm riding shorts down, but I'm not sure how much faster Bitcoin can be dropping. It's impressive that it's still dropping this quick without kind of a range first. So that's going to be something important to watch. I mean, that was just a candle. It just flicked down to almost 6,300 right there. So that's going to be really important to watch, guys. And going off that, I've been trying to cover strategy ever since we were going into the 2x fork. Strategy is going to change now. Obviously, the fork isn't happening, but I'll still try to give my take on at least what I'm doing, and kind of what my systematic approach or view would be telling me to do. One second. So when we first started this group, we were really only looking at strategy up here. We were looking at the top of the channel. Historically, what is a good play or the smart move if you take your emotions out of it, if you take your views out of it? What has been the good move in the past when Bitcoin is at the top of this channel, when it's overbought, at the end of an extended run? What should you do? Looking at the past, the smart move is to move some into alts, move some into fiat. That's really hard to do when Bitcoin's rising fast. Even I acted a little bit slow. I waited until we probably had our first couple of really big red candles right around 71 or 7K. It's when I initiated my first positions. So now that we're moving down here, we're at this new juncture, this new step in the strategy. What is the best play now that we've already corrected 10 or 15%? What do we do from here? Almost 20%. So yesterday we talked about, are altcoins a good hedge? When do altcoins still perform well? What do we do from here? What if I'm not in alts yet? What if I have fiat to deploy? Is it time to do that yet? So just looking at the past, and what I've been thinking about today is, Bitcoin's all the way back at 300, wow. What I've been looking at today is, in my view, alts are going to keep performing well until we get into this 25-30% range. I said about 6K is when it gets a little dicey, in that's kind of led to a risk off scenario in the past. And when it crosses this, I'm going to draw a midline of this channel. I did this last time too. If I kind of just draw a divider right through the middle, and I know that's not perfect, once we get past this midline, and it looks like it's 5,700 here, a lot of times what happens to alts is alts do well when Bitcoin's dropping or when it's ranging. That's because most alts are priced in Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin drops, it makes sense that they would go up in Bitcoin price. What's happened though in the past, when Bitcoin starts correcting past a certain point, is people start selling the alts too. And the alts, even relative to Bitcoin, drop. So if we were to get to this level, that's when I would definitely reduce my exposure. And I've explained to you guys, I don't usually have too much exposure to alts anyways. They're inherently risky. This is already a very risky asset class. So I'm always just trying to manage my risk. The return's already massive. So if I can manage my risk, Dan, I'm hoping for a nice big range as well. If I can manage my risk effectively each month or each week and each month and compound that throughout the year, the gains are massive. So I don't always need to be looking for some home run alt play. What's more important to me, and what I've found more success in just in the short time that I've been in crypto, is keeping this bigger picture kind of macro approach, always focusing on that, always starting my day with that, trying to understand what's going on with Bitcoin, and then from there trying to play a few alts to gain more Bitcoin or to gain more fiat if you're cashing out your Bitcoin to fiat. So that's what's more important to me, guys. I'm more defensive. If we get in this range, I'm really looking to minimize alt exposure, even if they keep doing well. I have to listen to the strategy. It's the only reason I even knew to get into alts and fiat up here, even though some people, like I said, I posted in early October I was going to do that. People said I was crazy. Everyone said, they always talk about, everyone screams alt season. When you have a strategy and when you have a guide like this in place, it doesn't matter what Twitter is saying. It doesn't matter what other people are saying. It doesn't even matter what the price is doing. You look at the guide and you just follow the rules of the system. I try to take myself out of it. So that's kind of what the system says here. I believe alts keep doing well. If Bitcoin does eventually move up, if this FUD kind of minimizes and something happens with this Bcash is due for a hard fork. So if for some reason the algorithm adjusts, all of a sudden miners stop supporting it, I don't think it's going to happen, and Bitcoin moves back up, we could definitely see a pretty big dip again in alts. At that point, it'd be another really great time to move into alts because they'd be cheap. But most of the group seems like you guys are already positioned pretty well in alts. I think you've taken a few of my setups or are in some trades with me. They're all performing really well. We're going to cover a couple of those alts today. But that's kind of my view on Bitcoin, guys. If this Bcash thing keeps going, the higher that price goes, the further it pushes this thing down. Wow, it just cracked 6,300. The further it pushes this down, that question keeps looming. What is the real Bitcoin? This is going to get really weird. I saw a graphic that said, over 50% of the hash rate or hashing power has already left the Bitcoin network. I'm not sure if that was real. I don't understand all of the technical things I read about Bitcoin and blockchain and everything. I'm more of a trader looking at market cycles and such, but from what I'm looking at and what I'm hearing, this is, the fact that people are even saying flipping and that really smart Bitcoin devs and big names in the Bitcoin space are actually, whether they're denouncing it or not, whether the fact they're paying attention means something to me. So this is going to be something to watch. Serious FUD going on. In the past, serious FUD has led to a correction down here. Couple questions really quick on Bitcoin before I go to alts. A couple guys have asked about moving fiat in right now. After dips, I never think it's bad. Just like after massive bulls, I don't think it's, or massive pumps, I don't think it's a bad idea to take profits and move into fiat. Maybe not a bad play to move fiat into Bitcoin, but at the same time, the risk reward for me and the dollar cost averaging for me personally doesn't get too good or too attractive until we're below this midline, and then I really look to deploying fiat. So if I had fiat on the sidelines and I was looking to deploy, this is the area that I would be looking for. I would personally be a little more patient and wouldn't be buying up here. I'd be looking to buy in this range. Patience it's really tough in crypto, but this market moves so fast anyways. It's like, what do you have to wait? Maybe a week or two. So that's kind of my view on it. Covering alts next. What are we going to look at? We're going to look at Ethereum Classic and Bcash or Btrash or BCH or BCC, whatever you want to call it. I think it's BCC on my screen. It bothers me that it has the same ticker as BitConnect because that is an outright Ponzi scam. It's going to be interesting too when Bitcoin drops and these kind of high yield and investment schemes that are promising these massive returns on Bitcoin volatility. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that. I'm going to keep an eye on that. Anyways, that's a little bit off topic. Looking at Bitcoin Cash, this is probably the biggest trade that everyone on Twitter, everyone in the markets is talking about, mostly because of this volume. And this is what made me catch the breakout about a week ago, and then we also caught a couple trades in the middle. This volume is insane. It just passed Bitcoin's 24-hour volume today. I don't have the link for that. I think you can see it on CoinMarketCap. I mean, the daily, it's down a little bit from yesterday, but that's nuts. I mean, it's huge. Look how overbought it is on the daily as well. So whoever's been in the group, we caught this in the breakout. We also caught a few of these retracements. I took away some lines. It's right at it just passed actually this all-time high target. It looks like it retraced a little bit and now is using that resistance as support. If anyone is looking for, this is a risky trade in my opinion now. I think this Bcash thing is risky anyways. Just as fast as it was able to rise up, I'm not sure what happens if all of a sudden, this Bcash fork, it's not a chain split, so it can't really go bad, but I don't know if Jihan and Roger kind of call this off, or this is all kind of a news hype-driven cycle, and everything's happening really fast, which is just a little bit off-putting to me. Pretty risky. I liked the risk reward down here. I still liked it in the middle of the channel. Up here towards this all-time high level, an entry to me doesn't make too much sense. I think it's very risky. That being said, if you're a momentum trader, if you're a breakout trader, there actually might be a much bigger play here. So that's kind of why I'm comfortable holding profits or holding part of this holding part of this position, pardon me, past the final target, is because I think this is kind of a theme, and I'm also holding on the chance that this does, turn out to be the flippening. I think that's still really far-fetched, but who knows? I mean, it's getting all this mining power. The big guys are supporting it, whether it's right or wrong. There's a huge marketing campaign going on around it, whether it's confusing people or not. There's something going on here. I don't think it's attractive up here, but if you are looking for a play, I would like it along at least this 0.2 range. So I don't like chasing wicks or chasing candles or anything. Alternatively, you can wait to see if we break out of this all-time high wick, kind of right when it opened. Actually, I might not even count. Was that the first day it started trading? I might not count that. I guess it was a couple days after. So I don't know. I guess you could play that if you. I'm only saying this because I know a lot of guys in my free Telegram were asking about whether, and on Twitter were asking whether they should get into Bcash. I haven't seen any questions stay in the Discord, but if any of you are thinking about it, this is how I would play it. I'd be looking at an entry on a retrace along this 0.2 level, or potentially when this is a breakout at, what is that, 0.25? So right at about a quarter of a Bitcoin, if it can break this wick, it looks like kind of a clear, not a clear push, but I don't see any other resistance. I guess there's one here at 0.35. I'm not sure, but if this massive volume of buying keeps going, and it seems like these big guys or whoever's controlling the whales that are controlling this market as Bitcoin continues to dump, are they moving into Bcash? I don't think these definitely aren't people on Bittrex typing in buy orders like retail traders like we are. This is a much bigger play. A lot of Korean won are buying, so something to watch. But anyways, guys, target was hit. That was the first 2x of the group about a weekend, so that was a lot of fun to call that and trade that one with you guys. Let me look at a question real quick before I go on. Casper said, when you put a sell order near resistance, do you keep watching it execute real time, or do you do adjustments to lower level if you feel it cannot be executed? Good question, Caspers. Since I'm on here all day, man, I actually don't set too many stops in Bittrex or in any of the exchanges I use. I set alerts, so if I'm looking at Bcash, I want to see if we get a breakout. I right click and add an alert here. But I'm also on the computer 12 hours a day working with you guys and looking at the markets and reading articles. So that's not as realistic for all of you that have full-time jobs. I completely understand that. I would recommend if you don't have as much time, or honestly, even if you did have enough time, just to try to limit your amount of time that you're just sitting here staring at candles, because I think all of us spend a little bit too much time on crypto, me included. I would set your sell limits and don't bother. I mean, maybe set an alert or two, but no, I don't think there's any need to watch it. Sometimes if I am a little bit iffy, like I am about Bcash, I might set an alert like even lower, and then that'll alert me to start watching. So I'll say Bcash nearing level, need to watch, and then you can just send email to SMS. You can set up this whole trading view thing so that you get texts all the time when certain levels are hit. I would definitely recommend it. Save yourself a lot of time, and you don't have to sit here and stare at candles. It's really for everything, whether you're trading or not. If you're looking at a coin, definitely set alerts. It's probably like the most underutilized tool, and even I wasn't using it up until about 2 months ago, and I got everything set up in TradingView, so that's really sweet. Not sure if the free accounts have it, but if they don't, it almost makes Pro worth it just on that. So something to keep in mind. Casper's really good question. What else? Ethereum Classic was the other trade I wanted to look at because really similar. That's awesome. Really similar to Bcash in that the reason I caught this, or the reason I wanted to start looking at it, it wasn't volume with this one, but it was hashing power, or hash rate. So here's a little pic I'm going to pull up. Let me take a drink as well. But starting in November, I was working with a buddy. You guys follow him on Twitter, Zeus. He's been a fan of Ethereum Classic for a while. I always wrote it off. Didn't understand why you'd want to buy Ethereum Classic. The chart was always really ugly to me. I took a look, still didn't like it until we saw a breakout. And we took that breakout. I gave the signal to the group. I know a couple of guys took that. I also took the trade. It's up pretty good right now. I think it's maybe 30 or 40%. We'll look. Ooh, that's actually it right there. So breakout, we took this first yellow zone. I think it only retraced to about here. I actually bought in right here. Sometimes I just don't like advising or not advising. I don't like sharing a setup if I think it's too high a risk. I always try to share a more conservative setup for the group for educational and illustrative purposes. I think that makes sense. But we're already up here in this yellow zone. I'll show you that in a second. But anyways, the reason I caught this trade or started looking at this is since November, hash rate's up almost 25%, and price is kind of following hash rate. So I took a trade, I think it was 2 months ago, with Mu, monetary unit coin or something, and there was a guy on Twitter who posted that and said, the hash rate is increasing by this amount. The chart looked really good to me, so I took it, and I looked back a month later, and that's true. It's played out several times. I've watched several. It happened to several coins. When the hash rate of these coins increases, the price follows. Now, whether that price is happening first or the hash rate first, I'm not sure. I just know, I don't know if it's a causation thing, but I know there is some kind of correlation going on there. So I saw that. It makes ETC a little bit more attractive to me. Another thing is, I know they're trying to push this for institutional guys. I think Grayscale Investment Trust, they run a mutual fund almost, or kind of a trust fund for Bitcoin. And they have one as well for Ethereum Classic. I'm not sure why they don't have one for Ethereum, but they have one for Ethereum Classic. So what that does, it opens up Ethereum Classic to just another market, another investment market. So who was it? There was a new member who got in today, Hawalti, I think it was. Maybe I'm saying your name wrong. Let's see. Alt discussion, alt trade updates. Hawalti asked about maybe getting back in his ETC, Ethereum Classic. I posted the trajectory. You guys can check it out in alt trade updates. This was earlier this morning, 8:50 a.m. I wanted to see a slight retracement to at least the bottom of this zone before it kept going up. It is beautiful when it does that. It just kind of follows my drawings. Sometimes I think TradingView is looking at my drawings. But yeah, it followed, and it looks like it's already getting a little bit of momentum. Not too much volume, which is kind of concerning. But if we break this last little local high right here at 308,000 sats, we still have about, I think it's 50% to run. Yeah, 50% to run until this first major resistance I see here, which is an old fib retracement zone. So this could still be a good trade since we are kind of opening the trade here mid setup for me. This was the original entry down here. Maybe in this range, I think it's halfway through. This carries a little bit higher risk since we're already kind of opening mid trade. It's already broken out of both these downtrends. It's definitely not the most ideal risk reward, but it's still a positive risk reward. So that meaning the target, if I was set a stop, I think I set around 23,000. I would want it somewhere below this red dash line in case we get a retest and access support. So if it was 229,000 sats, that's a 20% drop and potentially a 50% gain. So to me, that's like a 2-to-1 risk to reward or reward to risk. All that means is I do that for every single trade. I want my trades to have a farther target away than the stop. And it might sound counterintuitive at first, but what that means is, Casper's, I'll get that in 1 second. What that means is if I hit 50% of my trades and I'm getting 50% right, which even that is hard to do. I'm not always going to hit 50% of my trades. We've had a lot of really good results early in this group, but sometimes I might only catch 3 out of 10, or I might miss a few trades in a row. The reason I do a risk reward like that is the goal is even if I only hit 3 of those trades, but the targets are twice as far away, I can miss 6 and it's okay. I'm still up. So if your stops are way down here, you're giving yourself a bunch of room, and you're only setting targets a little bit away, you might say, I'm going to win every single trade. What ends up happening is you just let your losers run, and you're not letting your winners run. So that's what I'm looking at there. I still think we have some room to go. Ethereum Classic, this is similar to Bcash. I don't understand everything going on behind the scenes, but hash rate is increasing, pretty big volume, and Barry Silbert and a couple of those guys with a lot of kind of corporate power are getting behind some of these coins. And when that happens, right or wrong, it's fuel for potential further gain. So I like the coins, regardless of kind of the ethical dilemma with them. I think it's similar to trading something like tobacco stock. I might not support what they are doing, but if the tobacco stock is going to rise, I would probably buy a call option. So Casper's, and do you adjust to lower or wait for target to hit? Let's go back to that same example I was using. So he's asking about setting alerts, or whether I'm looking at the chart still for the to kind of get out of my trade at a target. Yeah, so if I set an alert, if it's something I'm less confident in, like Bcash, and I just have a small trade in from this level up to here, I'm not so confident it's going to get there. Maybe I'll set an alert down here, and then I'll start watching. So if I have an alert right here to start watching, and things start going bad, I get a little nervous, Yeah, sure. I'll have a weekend and I'll get out. So I'm comfortable moving limits down, or you can move a stop up and kind of lock in those profits. But I really try to avoid just sitting here and looking at candles. If I do that, I could throw away almost a whole day looking at this stuff. Any other alts I wanted to look at? ZEC was another one. Zcash. So I have to check the trade ideas and see where our original setup was. Okay, so I gave this originally in a video. Entry was down around a little bit below 37. Oh no, that's not 37,000 sets. Maybe it was this 0.037 area. Anyways, that's when I posted it to the alt trade ideas. I think I let you guys know a little bit lower when we were down here at 0.033 in the video. Regardless, this trade's running really nice. I'm bullish on privacy coins for a few reasons. I think the use case right now is huge. They have utility right now, and I think that use case is only going to grow. So I'm really bullish any privacy coins. I think they're going to continue to outperform. This is definitely one of the bigger privacy coins. The first target was up here at 20%, which is a really small gain relative to what we've been seeing, but that is where I see the first resistance at. I set an alert right there, so hopefully I'll keep you guys updated. Mid trade, you know, I don't want to look at this too much. I don't want to FOMO in more. I don't want to panic sell here. If anything, you can move up your stop, lock in profits. I might do that just because I don't really have a big catalyst or a big narrative for this coin. Other than, I think this is also another coin that Barry Silbert and the institutional guys are kind of trying to push with Ethereum Classic. So that's kind of the catalyst, or I guess the driver here. Other than that, I just like the setup technically. So that's something to watch. Target's getting close for anyone who's in that trade. Someone commented they were today. I wanted to cover it. Metal was the other one I wanted to look at. It's one of the few trades that I gave that's not in profit. I think Zcoin as well. And feel free to throw one in the comment box. If I gave a setup and it's not in profit, we can review it in here. But you know, it's not because you know, I'm that good of a trader and all my calls go into profit. It's just that importance, or that emphasis I put on really trying to focus and study the market cycles and the Bitcoin cycle and what that means for alts. And when I think alts are going to do well, I'll give more alt setups, and I'll, you know, personally invest more in alts. It makes your job easier, it makes your portfolio perform better, and it better manages risk. So there's going to be times when I'm not giving too many alt setups or not too many trade updates. You know, I'm not just going to pump out trade signals or trade ideas when they're going to perform terribly just to draw them. It just doesn't make sense. So we're going to look at metal. That's one of the ones that isn't doing well yet. Take away these drawings. I wanted it to reach this kind of lower. This was the first entry, the riskier entry we had here. It's since fallen through. It's only down. Oh, NEO is the other one it's not in profit. It's down about 9 or 10%, but I'm still holding out for metal. I think if you get it down here, I think it's still massively discounted. I think this is an overreaction from one of the insiders selling their shares or selling out of the company. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. It's still strange to me that we have to read pretty much company updates through Slack groups. I hope that eventually there's a better way to get information, but this would be a good entry. This is an alt that really hasn't moved yet. I think it's because of this negative press they had. People are kind of scared to touch it, but it's a value play. I mean, it's extremely low relative to where it's been. They do have some activity. I'm not sure what the activity level is going to be going forward now that someone took out their money, but something to watch. Something that really hasn't moved yet. NEO is back above. So I wanted to enter along this support in this kind of green support zone. Just the reason being it's so technically good. I also think it's going to take market share away from Ethereum as we move along. You know, more capable with NEO, you can program in more languages, and every single time it's touched this area, it's gone back up. So I like NEO for that reason. This is another one that really hasn't moved yet. A lot of other alts are already up 20, 30, 40%. NEO just isn't yet. So definitely something to watch. XCC was the last one that hasn't moved yet. Unfortunately, it's still in a falling wedge. This was one of the first setups I gave. Also a coin that I'm extremely bullish on because it's a privacy coin and because I have a colleague who's very smart and he likes Zcoin a lot. So the ideal entry zone that I would be waiting for and that I am waiting for is down here, bottom of this falling wedge and long horizontal support. We might not get it. I said the other way to trade it is on this breakout. We had a little bit of a wick or a fake breakout up here, and then the first targets are in this 33 to 37,000 sat range. Never mind, that's 330 and 370,000 sat range. So that's the area I'd be looking to profit at, and this is the entry I'm still waiting on. I'm hoping we get it, but we'll see with Zcoin. That covers the lesson, Bitcoin overview, all the alt updates I wanted to go through. I definitely can't do them all. Had a couple of group updates, guys. I wanted to say welcome, which I already did. I also wanted to say I'm going to start focusing on just a few less setups that I've been throwing in, and I've been throwing in a bunch of alt trades and alt trade setups because I am so bullish alts. And I was when Bitcoin left the top of this channel. I thought they were going to perform well, and I think they will still perform well at these levels. But it just kind of goes against my trading style and my personal kind of methodology that, you know, if you're trying to look at way too many coins at once, I'm never going to be able to do them all. Even if I had a team of 3 or 4 guys, we're never going to be able to cover every single coin here. So I'm only going to be covering a few, maybe 2, 3, 4, or 5 alts at once, or alt trade setups at once. It allows me to really focus on all the different levels, focus on entries and exits there. I was covering a lot because, you know, I thought a lot were going to perform well, so I wanted to give you a bunch of looks. Wanted to get that in there. Now the group is full as well, running really smooth. I have no complaints or suggestions or anything like that. One thing I did want to say, I think so far I've answered every single question I've seen thrown my way. But in the future, you know, if I do have an extremely busy day or something comes up, or everyone has a lot of questions a certain day and I'm not able to answer your question, you know, it's not because I don't like you. It's just because, you know, I really need to kind of stay away from, you know, if you ask me to chart, and it's perfectly okay if you ask me to already chart a coin, or if I like a setup still, or what you should do with your trade. Those are all still valid and fine, and I'll work to answer those questions. But if I spend too much time kind of only looking at coins you request me to chart, it kind of takes away from my ability to try to find alpha and to try to find different ways to kind of explain my process and stuff like that. So that was a problem. The first time I tried to kind of run a Telegram group, didn't. I just spent a lot of time, you know, can you chart this? And then I wasn't able to really look at my own opportunities. So just wanted to throw that out there. If you do have a question one day and I don't answer it, nothing personal. I just maybe have something else I need to do. Maybe ask me the next day and I'll probably get to it. But I am capping the group at this level. It's running great. No concerns from anyone yet. Literally no complaints. And yeah, I mean, it also works better when it's this size. I want to get to know people. I want you guys to get to know other people in the community, and I want to be able to help and still do kind of provide one-on-one service. I think that's where the most value is. So it'll stay this size for now. Yeah, and then the last piece as well for Bitcoin strategy. So when I'm giving you these and I'm giving you my trade setups or my personal strategy, one thing I did want to mention again, since we got a couple new guys in the group, you know, this is definitely not financial advice. I am definitely not a financial advisor. I don't even think you can be licensed to give advice for this stuff. And if someone was, you probably shouldn't listen to them if they're saying it's advice. You know, I'm giving you this stuff so you understand my process. I'm hoping you can apply it in your own way. I'm hoping it gives you confidence so that you understand what you're looking at and what you're doing. And I'm also trying to prepare you so even if crypto goes away and Bcash takes over and all this, or who knows, you know, they outlaw crypto, if you move into trading stocks or investing anywhere or anywhere else, you know, these are skills that you can apply anywhere. And I'm trying to you know, that's what the group is focused on. It's not focused on me giving you my allocation so you just perfectly match my allocation. It's just sharing for educational purposes, and this is not financial advice. I wanted to throw that little disclaimer in there. I hate doing it, but I have to do it. That's all I have for you guys today. If this is your first stream, thanks for tuning in. As always, the regulars, thanks for tuning in. Nick, who else do we have? Nick Q. Now we have 2 Nicks in the group. Slaza, Dan. Really nice to see all you guys throw in the comment box. I know there's some other ones watching too. I just don't. I'm so new to YouTube, man. I don't know how to even check who all's watching, but I'm getting better. I'll figure out. I just added a cool little Bitcoin icon so you can subscribe. Yeah, guys, that's all I have for you. Enjoy tomorrow. Once again, I'm probably going to say I like to take some time off on Sundays to watch football, and I will definitely find myself checking the charts and working in the group a little bit too often. But Sundays are the one day. What's up, Matt? Sundays are the one day that I like to take a little bit of time off. So I'm going to say that again. Try to keep your questions limited on Sunday. Honestly, though, I'll probably still be in the group and working and helping you guys. So no worries if you do send me questions, is what I'm saying. Yeah, man, enjoy the rest of the weekend, guys and girls. I will see you tomorrow. We still do a live stream tomorrow. Tomorrow's at 7 p.m. in between the football games. And yeah, let's keep making Bitcoin. Let's keep making money. Let's keep learning things. Group's going great. Really, really, really good times. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good rest of the day.